On a foggy October night in 2003, the quiet town of Briar Glen locked its doors earlier than usual. A cold wind swept through the empty streets, rattling loose signs and pushing dry leaves along the pavement. At 10:12 p.m., 27-year-old Daniel Harper left his apartment to buy milk from a convenience store 2 blocks away. He never returned. By morning, his front door was still unlocked, his lights still on, and his phone still charging on the kitchen counter. Daniel Harper had vanished without a trace, and nearly 2 decades later, no one knows why. Daniel Harper was the kind of person who blended easily into any room. He was 27 years old, soft-spoken, and known for his reliability. He worked as a freelance graphic designer from home, taking small contracts from local businesses. His neighbors described him as polite, friendly, and predictable. Every morning, he jogged the same route. Every evening, he watched the news with a cup of tea. He rarely traveled, rarely partied, and rarely strayed from routine. Daniel lived alone in a modest second-floor apartment above a hardware store. His parents lived just 20 minutes away, and he visited them every Sunday without fail. He had a small circle of friends from college, though most had moved away. He spent much of his time online, designing logos, chatting in forums, and occasionally playing guitar. His disappearance shocked everyone because there was no warning, no financial trouble, no relationship conflict, no sign he wanted to leave. Daniel had just signed a new lease, paid his bills early, and told his mother he planned to repaint his living room that weekend. There was nothing in his life that suggested he was about to vanish. Briar Glen itself was the kind of town where nothing seemed to happen. With a population under 6,000, it was quiet, slow, and deeply familiar. Everyone knew the grocery clerk, the mail carrier, the barber. Streetlights flickered faintly at night, and most businesses closed before 9 p.m. The convenience store Daniel walked to was one of the few places still open late. The town had its share of local rumors. Years earlier, a factory closure had caused economic strain. Some claimed strangers occasionally passed through, drawn by the quiet isolation. Others spoke of abandoned roads outside town, where cars sometimes appeared and disappeared without explanation. But nothing serious had ever happened until Daniel vanished. The night of October 14th began normally. At 9:58 p.m., Daniel sent an email to a client confirming a design revision. At 10:05 p.m., he texted his mother, running to the store back soon. Surveillance cameras from the hardware store captured him leaving the building at 10:12 p.m., wearing a gray hoodie and jeans. He walked south toward Maple Street. The convenience store was just 2 blocks away. A witness later reported seeing him crossing the street near a flickering streetlight. Another customer at the store claimed someone matching his description entered briefly, then left. But the store's camera facing the entrance malfunctioned that night, leaving a critical gap. Daniel never returned home. At 7:30 a.m., the hardware store owner noticed Daniel's apartment door slightly open. Concerned, he went upstairs. Inside, nothing appeared disturbed. Daniel's wallet sat on the table. His keys were missing. His computer was still running. The milk he supposedly went to buy was nowhere to be found. Police were called immediately. Officers initially treated it as a missing person case. They searched nearby streets, checked hospitals, and interviewed neighbors. No one reported hearing a struggle. No one saw him enter a vehicle. No footprints led away from the sidewalk. The investigation quickly became complicated. The convenience store clerk insisted Daniel came in around 10:15 p.m. He claimed Daniel walked to the back aisle and then left without purchasing anything. But another customer said he never saw Daniel inside. Without camera footage, the timeline remained unclear. Police expanded the search beyond town limits. Dogs tracked Daniel's scent to an alley behind the store, then lost it abruptly. Investigators considered the possibility he entered a vehicle, but no tire tracks stood out. No witnesses reported suspicious cars. Daniel's phone remained in his apartment, ruling out digital tracking. His bank accounts showed no activity after that night. His email remained untouched. It was as if he stepped into darkness and vanished. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered subtle inconsistencies. A neighbor recalled seeing a dark sedan parked near the building earlier that evening. Another resident claims someone knocked on Daniel's door 2 nights before the disappearance. No one could describe the visitor clearly. Daniel's online activity raised additional questions. He had recently joined a forum discussing local history. In one thread, he mentioned researching abandoned properties near Briar Glen. Investigators checked those locations, but found nothing. Attention soon shifted to possible suspects. The first was Daniel's former friend, Mark Ellison. The two had argued months earlier over money from a share project. Mark admitted they hadn't spoken since. Phone records showed no contact, but witnesses placed Mark in town the week Daniel disappeared. When questioned, he claimed he was visiting family. Police found no evidence tying him directly to the disappearance, and he was never charged. The second theory focused on the convenience store clerk. His timeline shifted during questioning. At first, he said Daniel entered the store. Later, he admitted he might have mistaken him for someone else. Investigators found no motive, but the inconsistent statements raised suspicion. Without evidence, they could not pursue charges. The third theory involved an unknown stranger. Several residents reported seeing a dark sedan circling the area that night. One witness claimed the car idled near Maple Street before driving off quickly. No license plate was recorded. The vehicle was never identified. Weeks passed. Then, a strange development emerged. An anonymous letter arrived at the police station. It contained only a map with a circle drawn around an abandoned quarry outside town. Search teams combed the area. They found nothing except an old jacket buried beneath leaves, but it wasn't Daniel's. Months later, a truck driver reported picking up a hitchhiker resembling Daniel 50 miles away. The sighting couldn't be confirmed. Another person claimed to see Daniel at a bus station, but security footage showed no match. More unsettling still, Daniel's email received a login attempt from another state 6 months after his disappearance. Investigators traced it to a public library. The security cameras had been overwritten. The case began to stall. Lead dried up. Witnesses' memories faded. The dark sedan was never found. The anonymous letter's origin remained unknown. Daniel's family refused to give up. They organized searches, printed flyers, and contacted media outlets. Each year on the anniversary of his disappearance, they held a vigil outside his apartment. They insisted Daniel would never leave voluntarily. He had too many plans, too many routines, too much normalcy. But without new evidence, police eventually classified the case as a cold case. Years passed. Briar Glen returned to quiet routine. The hardware store changed owners. The convenience store replaced its cameras. New tenants moved into Daniel's apartment. Some claimed they felt uneasy there. One reported hearing footsteps at night. Another found an old note tucked behind a drawer, just a blank sheet of paper. No body was ever found. No suspect arrested. No explanation confirmed. To this day, Daniel Harper remains missing. Did he encounter someone on that short walk to the store? Did he enter a vehicle willingly, or was he forced inside? Was the dark sedan connected, or just coincidence? And who sent the anonymous map? Nearly 20 years later, the questions remain unanswered. Briar Glen still remembers the night a man walked 2 blocks and disappeared. What really happened to Daniel Harper? Was it someone he knew, or someone waiting in the shadows? The truth may never be known.